Child, Truman was so messy. It's not funny, but it's funny, y'all. So, if you're new here, my name is Ashley, and this is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related. If that is your speed, honey, if you want to know if something's worth watching and it just came out, come here, and I promise I'll let you know. I might tell a joke, okay, but I won't tell a lie. Go ahead, like, subscribe. Go ahead, do it, y'all. Let's get into it though. I am back to talk about Feud, Capote versus his Swans. Now, Feud is like anthology style, right? So there was a first season that was about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, and if you haven't watched it, I recommend watching it. However, this is a standalone, okay? So every season is a new feud, basically. That was back in 2017. Ryan Murphy, I guess, took his time, honey. We had strikes, we had all kinds of things. But now we are back in 2024 with what I think is probably going to be one of the most brilliant shows, well, I know of January, but maybe this year. Okay, because when I tell you it's star-studded, packed, well acted, bomb script, interesting, all of those things. But let's get right into it. I'm going to start reviewing this one because, listen, it bears review. Okay, this will be my episode 1, the pilot, the recap and review of this week's episode. Let's get right into it. So, if you don't know, The Feud is an anthology style show. We had a first season that Ryan Murphy put out in 2017, which was about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. If you haven't watched that one, go watch it, but you don't need to watch it to watch Capote versus his Swans, okay? Every season is a new feud with new feudsters. Okay, and so now we have Truman Capote versus his Swans. These were his muses, his best friends, his waspy elites, right? Whose circles he was in. And basically these women confided and told him all their business. Why? I don't know. But let's basically, immediately as the episode opens up, Truman is going to the aid of one of his best friends, Babes Paley, okay, played by Naomi Watts, okay, and I'm just going to kind of talk about who we were introduced to this season and give a recap. So there's spoilers, FYI, spoilers is what I do, okay, so just be aware of that. So he's rushing to her aid. He doesn't know why, but he is letting the house staff know what needs to be done. He said, take the kids, take them to Serendipity, get them an ice cream cone, take them to the movie theater, get them out of the house. Oh, Martha, she's fine now. I'm here. I've got her. Dismissing the floor. Everybody get out and let me talk to my friend. Okay. So he immediately goes in there and is like, babes, what's going on? And she was like, my husband did it this time. He did it this time. Okay. And I don't like, Heartland Daddy acting like this. I'm going to just say that. I don't like Heartland Daddy acting like this. But anyway, baby's like, my husband done took it to another level. We know he was screwing the governor's wife, right? They call her hog bottom, I think, child. It was too much. The gags were too much, okay? And so she's like, but he took it this far. He's disrespectful with it, okay? I know he has women. Truman's like, well, you know he be dipping and dapping. And she said, yeah, and that's fine. But this time he took it too far, honey, and begins to tell the story. The husband, Mr. Paley, then tried to call it off, okay, with the hog bottom, the governor's wife that he's been having the affair with. And she's like, well, I want some one last time, okay? So in the house, in her bed, on Babe's white sheets, they get up, and it looks like a hog is bleeding, okay? The woman got blood all over her. Blood is in the sheets. Blood's in the carpet. Blood's everywhere. And she's like, you want to put me away and talk about me? Your wife gonna know all about this. I said, oh, you will use a low down dirty something. So he's trying to scrub up all this blood. Babes walks in and is like, okay, you took it too far now. It's too far. So Truman is like, okay, listen, stop. Are you going to throw away this beautiful life? You have a mansion here, you have a mansion there, your kids do this, you do that, you have the pick of the litter, you can do whatever No, here's what we're going to do. You're not going to tell anyone. This is going to be your little secret. You're going to live your best life, but you're going to make them pay. Okay? And so immediately I'm like, well, Truman, wasn't too far off in this moment. You know what I'm saying? He gave wise counsel in that moment, in my opinion, for, I'd say, a woman who has that level of status in that time, at that age. I mean, he might tell a joke, but Truman didn't tell a lie in the moment, right? And so later we kind of discover that he's got these other friends, right? And he starts introducing some of his other swans, okay? And we only meet 3 swans, and I think 1 or 4 swans, and no, 3 including Babes, and then 1 who used to be his best friend, Ann, okay? And so we'll kind of talk about that. Now, Ann Woodward is played by Demi Moore, and she was his friend. She was Truman's friend back in the day, okay? But apparently they fell out. Apparently she called him a derogatory name. He heard that and he went nuclear, okay? And allegedly, according to Truman, took out her husband. He was a philanderer. He did the most. She was sick of him, acted like she thought he was a burglar, got her shotgun and took him out. Okay, but because he was affluent, his mother didn't want the scandal of it all, didn't want the kids to be without a mom, blah, blah, blah. And so Truman's been going around society telling all the business. Now, forgive me because I don't remember the name of the restaurant that they go to, but ever so often, I think weekly, that he and his swans go there. So the first time we actually get to see them having lunch there, we meet Slim Keith, who is played by Diane Lane, and she is everything. Apparently she had humble beginnings in California, but she's married well. She's won best dress. Like, she is all the things, okay? Fabulous. But she's smart. He says she got her head on her shoulders, right? Then we have CZ Guest, played by Chloe Sevigny, which I've loved since Big Love, honey. I love her. And she is kind of the quintessential wasp. She gardens, she hunts, she does, all of the things that you would think an upper echelon waspy woman would do in that time, right? And so those are basically his 3 main sisses, right? And so they let him know everything's good. And so we know that Truman writes books, of course. Y'all know Breakfast at Tiffany's. And he released another book. I can't remember the name of it during this, but we fast forward and he is overdue with the publisher. He's supposed to have pages done and he hasn't done it. He's depressed, so he decides to go sow his wild oats at the bathhouse. Child, I hadn't seen a bathhouse since I watched Philadelphia. But anyway, he's in the bathhouse and he meets this man who's married but he said, the man say, I'm not this, I'm not that. I just like to get it off every now and again, okay? And so they get there, they connect, but apparently, and the man knows exactly who Truman Capote is, and he says, oh, you're Truman. He says, yeah. And so they engage in, whatever their situation is, and eventually, I believe, become lovers, because not soon after that, honey, Truman decided to invite this man to their luncheon with the girls. Now, the gag is the girls already know that he's having an affair and that this man is married. That's not their problem. Their problem comes when Truman is trying to make him their manager. They're like, what? Slim says, what are you doing? Babe says, you realize that you're making the biggest mistake of your life. What are you doing? And so they're there kind of chewing the fat. Meanwhile, while they're having lunch, Ann is over there eyeballing him down. Okay. And when I tell you they get into it, and it is an epic get down, get down, get down. She's throwing drinks. He's, she's letting him have it. Like, it's a mess. Okay. So on the train ride back, he and his lover are talking, and he's like, I need to get this book written. And the lover was like, well, you needed ideas. Why not just use what just happened? You lunching with the swans. I feel like that's primetime content. And the man's like, didn't even say he can't do that. Honestly, Truman was like, his wheels started turning, because he already knew he was going to be writing about Ann, right? And accusing her of murdering her husband. But now he has other content to go in his book. And that's, I think, where the whole feud stems from, right? The swans get mad because he's using the stories they told him in confidence to publish his books. And so he decides he's going to do it, honey. Next thing we know, book is published. Demi, Anne, sitting there, got her pills out, honey, reading the book, and she took her own self out. Because she knew she was going to be in it. I just don't think she knew that the other swans were going to be in it. So Babes is just devastated. You know, her husband reads it and he's like, well, you know, it's not the end of the world. No one knows it's us. She's like, everyone knows, you know. She says, I used to think I loved you, all that stuff. But as far as Truman was concerned, I know I loved him. And I thought he loved me. This is the worst betrayal. And so then we see the swans get together. And it's really just her and Slim. And Slim's like, we're going to make him pay. Just how Ann is gone, we going to suffocate him. We going to take the breath. We going to do da-da-da-da. I read an article. They equated it to Mean Girls. And I said, baby, this is the original Mean Girls. Because I don't know if Truman knew who he was messing with or what. But if you guys do want some reference material, I would highly recommend going out and reading the Vanity Fair article, and I've inserted some of the pictures from that article throughout this video as I was talking about each, so you could reference them. But the article is great, and it kind of gives you the real tea on some things in the series. You guys, what I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around and what we'll see is that in the moment it seemed like a very shallow, callous decision to betray these women that he loved, right? Babes was his favorite one of them all. And so I'm interested to know what deep-seated reasons there are. It's clear that he was empty in a lot of areas in his life, felt empty, and that he was missing something. And I wonder how much of it was jealousy, like his inability to be those women played into it. It comes with a word of caution and warning is that you can't share everything with everybody. And some people who you think are your friends are really not your friends. You really have to practice discernment, honey, because at the end of the day, he wasn't none of them ladies' friends, honey, and it all came out. I have not watched episode 2 yet. When I watch episode 2, I will come back and do a review on it then. But drop in the comments below, what did you think, honey? What do you think his real motive was? Was it really just writer's block? And this was the only content that he could think of to do it? Or was it something more nefarious? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, honey. And I'll see you.